What if your brain could tune into the universe like a radio? Picture this. You're lying on your bed, headphones on, and within minutes, it feels like your body is asleep, but your mind is wide awake. You're not dreaming. You're consciously aware, and you feel something shift. This isn't science fiction. It's the premise behind a real technique that the CIA once investigated for its potential to unlock hidden powers of the human mind. It's called the gateway process. At the center of it is a surprisingly simple idea: synchronizing the two sides of your brain using sound. This technique, developed by the Monroe Institute, is based on something called Hemi-Sync, short for hemisphere synchronization. The idea is that if the left and right hemispheres of your brain, normally responsible for logic and creativity, respectively, start working together in perfect harmony, you can access parts of your mind that are usually dormant. And here's the weird part: it actually works. Binaural beats, playing slightly different tones in each ear, can train your brainwaves to shift into different states, like deep relaxation or intense focus. It's like using your phone to find a hidden setting in your brain. But the gateway process goes way beyond just feeling calm or focused. According to the CIA's own declassified documents, people who practice these techniques reported out-of-body experiences, glimpses of the future, and even insights into the nature of reality that line up with quantum physics and ancient philosophies alike. One core idea stands out: the universe might be holographic. That means every small part contains the information of the whole. So when your brain is in sync, it might be tapping into this massive field of shared energy and information, the same field that links particles across galaxies instantly. It sounds unbelievable, but it's backed by real physics theories and neurological research. The process uses humming exercises, focused visualizations, and specific audio tracks to train your mind to reach these altered states, like stepping through a mental doorway into something far bigger than yourself. And it's not just for spies or scientists. You can try this with just a quiet room and a pair of headphones. The real takeaway? Your mind may be capable of much more than you've been told. And it all starts with learning how to tune in. Most people think you need years of meditation or some kind of special talent to unlock deeper states of awareness. But the gateway process suggests something different: that anyone can do it with the right training and tools. It's not about belief, it's about practice. One surprising insight is how closely this process mirrors findings in quantum mechanics. Scientists have shown that particles can become entangled, meaning they affect each other instantly, even if they're miles apart. The gateway theory says consciousness might work the same way, that our minds could interact with distant people or places once tuned to the right state. That's a big deal. It hints that thoughts, under the right conditions, could travel. Another interesting idea is the role of the Earth's frequency. The gateway process trains your body to match the Schumann Resonance, about 7.83 Hz, which is basically the Earth's natural rhythm. When your brain aligns with this frequency, it's like getting in sync with the planet itself. People often describe this state as deeply calming, almost like being plugged in to something bigger. There's also the notion of clicking out, a moment when consciousness temporarily steps outside the physical world. According to the theory, your awareness can momentarily leave space and time altogether. Some believe this explains how remote viewing or time perception changes might work. These aren't wild guesses. They're based on patterns scientists observe in how high-frequency energy behaves at the tiniest levels of space. Most importantly, this isn't just theory. People have used gateway techniques to solve personal problems, gain creative insights, and even experience what they call non-local consciousness, a state where the usual boundaries of self seem to dissolve. It's not magic. It's repeatable, learnable, and strangely practical. So what's the real insight here? That your brain might not just be a receiver of thoughts. It could be a transmitter too. With the right techniques, you're not just calming your mind. You're reaching out into the fabric of reality itself. And that changes everything. If the gateway process sounds like science fiction, here's something to consider. Much of what it proposes lines up with modern neuroscience and physics. Take brainwave states, for example. When you're awake, your brain is mostly in a beta state, fast, alert, and often stressed. But as you move into alpha and theta states, your brain slows down. That's where creativity, intuition, and deep insight happen. The gateway process helps you reach those states on demand. Not through effort or years of training, but with audio frequencies that guide your brain naturally. Think of it like tuning a radio, except the signal is your own consciousness. New research on neuroplasticity supports this. Scientists now know the brain is always changing. You can train it to develop new habits, thoughts, and even ways of perceiving reality. The gateway process doesn't just tap into altered states. It may also be reshaping the brain over time, building new neural pathways that make deep awareness more accessible. One of the most fascinating ideas here is that the brain might act like an antenna, not just processing information, but receiving it from outside the body. Some researchers believe consciousness isn't just a byproduct of brain activity, but something more fundamental, like a field that exists everywhere, and your brain simply tunes into it. This could explain why some people using gateway techniques report knowing things they weren't told, or solving problems in their sleep. They're not guessing. They're accessing a different kind of information, the kind that doesn't come through the five senses. The idea that we're part of a shared field of consciousness isn't new. What's new is the possibility that we can connect to it deliberately and consistently. With practice, some users say they experience out-of-body sensations, vivid mental imagery, or even feel like they're observing their life from a higher perspective. But you don't have to jump to conclusions. Start small. A few minutes a day using Hemi-Sync or basic breathing techniques can already reduce stress, improve sleep, and boost focus. Over time, those benefits grow, and so does your access to these deeper states. The takeaway? Your brain isn't locked into one way of functioning. It's adaptable, and the gateway process might be one of the clearest examples we have of how to train it, not just for performance, but for understanding reality in an entirely new way. So what happens when people go even deeper into the gateway process? Beyond focus and relaxation, some report reaching what's called the mind awake, body asleep state. It's a strange feeling. You're fully conscious, but your body feels distant, almost weightless. And it turns out this state is ideal for accessing what scientists call non-ordinary states of consciousness, the same ones often reported during deep meditation, lucid dreaming, or even near-death experiences. What's interesting is how this experience overlaps with phenomena that have been studied across different cultures and belief systems. The idea that consciousness can detach from the body isn't new. But now, with tools like Hemi-Sync and guided audio techniques, we can explore it in a structured, measurable way. That makes it less of a mystical claim and more of a mental skill. Some neurologists believe that during these deep states, the brain enters a hypnagogic zone, a kind of borderland between waking and dreaming. In this state, your brain is especially open to new ideas and insights because your internal filters, the ones that usually dismiss unfamiliar information, are relaxed. That's why people often report sudden clarity, creative breakthroughs, or solutions to problems they've been stuck on. And it's not just about what you see or feel in these states. What's more surprising is what happens after. Some people notice lingering effects, feeling more emotionally balanced, more intuitive, even more confident in decision-making. This suggests the benefits aren't just temporary. They may be rewiring how the brain handles stress, processes emotions, and generates insight. Another emerging area of interest is heart-brain coherence. This is the idea that your brain and heart are in constant communication, and when they're in sync, similar to how the brain's hemispheres synchronize, you enter a peak state of clarity and resilience. Some versions of the gateway process incorporate breathing techniques to promote this coherence, which can boost both mental and emotional well-being. It's not just about exploring consciousness for its own sake. It's about learning how to use it. People have used these techniques to reduce chronic anxiety, manage pain, and improve focus in high-pressure environments. Some even use it to prepare for public speaking, sports performance, or creative work. The real insight here is that consciousness isn't static. It's dynamic. And the more we understand how to guide it, using sound, breath, intention, and focus, the more control we gain over how we experience the world. The gateway process doesn't promise magic, but it does offer a roadmap, a set of tools and techniques that anyone can try, right now, with real potential to unlock deeper levels of awareness and human capability. By the time you reach the advanced stages of the gateway process, the goal isn't just relaxation or brief moments of clarity. It's learning to function in these expanded states with purpose. People who continue the training begin to use it for very specific outcomes, solving problems, exploring past memories, even setting intentions for the future in a more focused way. One practical insight is the idea of patterning. This technique teaches you to visualize a goal as if it's already real, not just imagining it, but fully feeling it, in a calm, focused state like Focus 12. This isn't daydreaming. It's closer to mental rehearsal, something top athletes, CEOs, and performers use regularly to prepare their minds for success. Recent studies in neuroscience back this up. Brain scans show that visualizing an action activates many of the same areas of the brain as actually doing it. In other words, mental rehearsal can physically train your brain. Gateway techniques take this further by combining that rehearsal with synchronized brain states, possibly increasing the effectiveness of those visualizations. Another advanced technique involves working with the universal hologram, a concept that suggests reality is a connected field of energy and information. During deep sessions, participants focus on a personal question or problem, and instead of thinking it through logically, they release it into this mental space. Often, the answer comes back in the form of an image, a word, or a strong gut feeling. While this might sound strange, it mirrors how insight-based problem-solving works in the brain. When you step away from a problem and let go of conscious effort, the brain often continues processing in the background. Gateway just gives you the tools to do this more deliberately and more deeply. One more insight comes from how people describe their sense of self after long-term practice. They often report feeling more connected, not just to people around them, but to something larger. This isn't about belief in a higher power, it's more about an internal shift. They feel less reactive, more grounded, and more aware of how their thoughts and emotions ripple out into the world. It's here that the gateway process starts to feel less like a method and more like a life skill. It teaches you how to pay attention to subtle changes in your state of mind, how to shift from stress to calm, how to recognize when your thoughts are out of sync with your goals, and how to realign them. And perhaps most importantly, it offers something rare, a way to practice accessing the full range of your consciousness, not just when you're in a crisis or on vacation, but every day. That's the long-term benefit. Not just deep experiences, but lasting change. At this point, one thing becomes clear. The gateway process isn't about escaping reality. It's about engaging with it more deeply. It gives you tools to understand how your mind works, how it can be trained, and how it might reach beyond the limits we usually accept. You don't need to fully understand the science to benefit from the practice. Just like you don't need to understand electricity to turn on a light, you can begin using these techniques today. No belief system required, no advanced knowledge necessary. Recent developments in consumer neurotechnology make this even easier. Wearable EEG devices and focus-enhancing apps now track your brainwaves in real time, giving you feedback as you train. These tools aren't just for tech enthusiasts. They're for anyone who wants to take their mental and emotional performance seriously. And the benefits go beyond personal growth. Teachers are using brainwave training to help students improve attention spans. Therapists are integrating binaural beats into anxiety treatment plans. Even workplaces are experimenting with focused audio environments to boost productivity. The gateway process laid the groundwork for all of this. Another practical angle is the rise of digital mindfulness platforms, apps that blend audio guidance with neuroscience-backed techniques. Many of them are directly inspired by Monroe Institute methods, though in a more user-friendly format. They help people access relaxation, clarity, and insight in just a few minutes a day. But the biggest insight may be this: consciousness is a skill. It's not something you either have or don't. Like learning a language or building physical strength, awareness can be developed with consistent, focused practice. The gateway process gives you that practice. Start small. Try 5 minutes of focused breathing. Listen to a brainwave audio track. Visualize one goal clearly. That's it. The value builds over time, because the only way to find out what your mind is capable of is to use it.